What's up, people? We are back with more of Katawa Shoujo. In the previous video, we finally returned back to Yamaku after our very pleasant, trip in Hokkaido in Lilly's summer house, where basically Lilly and Hisao are officially a couple now. So, in this particular video, I believe Akira was planning some sort of homecoming party for Lilly, and yeah, we all know how Akira's parties go, right? They involve booze and wine and all that shit, so I'm not sure what to expect of this party, but it's gonna be interesting nonetheless, so let us continue. Walking up the now slightly more familiar corridor of the girls' dormitories, I can hear the faint sound of laughter coming from up ahead. It doesn't take long to identify the source as Lilly's room, though the deep timbre of the female voice unmistakably belongs not to her, but to her sister. I rap my knuckles on the door with the usual 3 light taps, my hand barely retreating as the door swings open. Hey, Hisao! Hey, hello, Lilly, Hanako. They're sitting there. What? Another pajama party or something? What? Hanako looks up tentatively, her hands buried in her oversized pink nightgown. From her side, Lilly turns sideways towards the direction of my voice and smiles. It would be a flagrant lie to say I dislike the sight of her in those pajamas. Of course. I catch Akira giving me a sidelong look with a knowing grin. Oh, did Lilly tell her? To which I reply with a sharp glare. And why is Akira, by the way, why is Akira in a suit? Everybody else is like, yeah, okay, the proper attire for this apparent homecoming party is pajamas, but Akira is still in a suit, and I don't know, I guess we're just dressed normally. She takes the hint, shrugs, and walks back to the low table in the center of the room. As I go to join her, Lilly gives me a nod of greeting and starts pouring me a cup of tea. It's nice to see you again, Hanako. You've been getting around recently. Lilly wears a look of concentration as the light brown liquid, carefully measured by her fingers as always, flows from the teapot into the cup. It seems Hanako has taken up helping one of the people in your class with the newspaper club. Naomi, I think. Really? I've never heard. Who the hell is Naomi? Hanako gives an affirmative nod. Even after spending about 2 months in the class, I still have trouble remembering the names of those students I rarely talk with. It takes me a few mental contortions to connect the name with the face, but I eventually remember the girl that sits beside Hanako at the back of the class. Naomi Inoue. A fairly average looking girl, except for her bleached blonde hair. Ooh, I have that too. Bleached blonde hair. Given her upbeat and straightforward personality, Naomi may have seen an opening to poach Hanako for her club when she inquired about joining one. Either way, it's nice to see Hanako broadening her horizons. When I first met her, the idea of her joining a club with anyone but Lilly would have seemed utterly laughable. That'd explain how busy you've been. Enjoying it? It's really interesting. As always, Hanako's far from being talkative. Some things never change, and it seems that Hanako's personality is one of them. She'll likely always be the one to shy away from being overly social. I mean, I just feel like... we don't know if she's that way with Lilly, right? But I feel like once we're doing the Hanako route, I think she'll be talking at least a little bit more. Because I feel like she always gives like the shortest possible answer that would suffice in any situation. Like, for example, like, oh yeah, in this situation the least amount of words possible with people exactly understanding what she wants to say is like 7, so I'm gonna keep it to 7. Whereas I'm more of a person that, like, especially when I'm recording, like, I can probably say something, the point that I'm trying to get across, in 10 words, but for some reason I turn it into fucking 50 words or something. So yeah, that's something I definitely have to work on. But yeah, I feel like that's just how Hanako is, at least with people she's not overly familiar with, which I would say we are not overly, but we are pretty familiar with her. Warned by the sound of crockery against the table, as Lilly gently places my drink in front of me, I thank her and take a long sip. Hanako and Lilly are attending to their own, and Akira is quaffing a mug of strong-smelling black coffee. You're a lucky bastard, Hisao. Huh? I wonder why. I can't help grimacing at her teasing smile, still visible around the edges of the mug pressed to her lips. Seeing my sister in her pajamas, there's a lot of men out there who'd like to be where you are. Oh, Akira doesn't know. Akira doesn't know. Just like Scotty. I've seen a lot more than that of her. Not that I'd admit it. Akira. Hey, I'm just teasing. The joke is actually on Akira, right? She's like, I'm teasing you, aren't I, Hisao? But then meanwhile, we're just like, what? She's just in the pajamas. We've seen way worse than that. She leans over to me as much as she can, whispering with a sly grin written on her face. And Hanako too, you perv. Hey, it was her idea. Yeah, I didn't force them to come in pajamas and stuff. We both look over to her, her face turned to the ground, and her hands fidgeting in the lap of her nightgown. If it's Hisao, I don't mind. That seems like such a thing that, you know, that you say to a person you have a crush on. Like, I definitely remember multiple visual novels where a girl is always put in sort of a embarrassing situation, and you say like, oh well, if it's you, I don't mind too much. But so this is a strange thing for Hanako to say, right? Because, well, we're just friends, right, Hanako? I mean, I would jump over to her right now if I could, you know, just for exploration's sake, and then, you know, then jump back and forth between the Lilly and Hanako route, if only that we could do that. But don't worry, Hanako, you have to wait your turn. You'll be up next, okay? This could be bad. I know Hanako's altogether too innocent to bother reading too much into such a thing, but the expression Akira directs at me is positively stormy. Akira, please. It seems Lilly can sense Akira's sudden change in aura just as well as I, even without seeing it for herself. Akira slowly looks away from me, like an attack dog leashed by its owner in the nick of time. I breathe a sigh of relief. I can't think of a more appropriate time to try and change topics than around now. If you don't mind me asking, Akira, what do you do for a living? I've never seen you out of that suit. That sounds so weird. I've never seen you out of that suit, but I would like to. Thinking about what to do with yourself after school's over, eh? I'm a lawyer. For the most part, I work in the legal department of the Japanese branch of our family's company. The most boring possible answer, I suppose. Law's a pretty dry topic to most people. Kinda. Oi, you're not supposed to agree. Lilly gives an amused giggle while holding her teacup and saucer, Hanako quickly joining her. This friendly atmosphere between everyone is something I'd missed while Lilly and Akira were on their trip. While the dealings I had with Hanako didn't help, I think just not having Lilly around changed the mood. Yeah, it's because not having Lilly around affects both of us, right? It affects Hisao and Hanako. It's nice to be back. I missed you, Hisao. And you too, Hanako. Same goes for the both of us. I'm guessing your classmates were very happy to see you back. In a manner of speaking, yes. Akira's amused snort shows she's well aware of Lilly's attitude towards such figures of speech. I imagine she'd have to be, given how long they've been together. Did you have fun in Scotland? For a moment, I wondered why she's asking, it having been quite a while since they came back, but then I remember everything that happened. We've simply not had time to look back, with the exams and our Hokkaido trip. Lilly's face goes distant for a moment, and the fact that Akira's first reaction is to look over to her sister doesn't escape me. Nonetheless, she quickly collects herself. This is something that I mentioned before and during the time that Lilly was away in Scotland, right? That the reason they were because it seemed like they were hinting at least some sort of family trouble, right? And I was actually really surprised that when Lilly was back, none of that has been addressed yet. But as is kind of was mentioned in the previous sentence, they have been quite busy, so maybe there was no time for reflection and actually just, talking about that. Because I was really sure that something was going to happen with that, right? I actually mentioned at the ending of the previous video, like, where's the freaking problem that we're supposed to be confronted with in Act 4, and then hopefully solved towards the end of things as well. Because usually, because this route is like, or how visual novels like this usually go, is that there is a problem you're confronted with, and if you don't handle the problem or the situation well, you end up getting a bad ending, a neutral ending, or a good ending, But I feel like so far everything has just been really well and just no problem. So where the frick is the problem? So I think it's gonna come fairly soon, because that was something where I suspected it might be coming from Lily's family side in Scotland, but we haven't heard much about that, so enlighten us, Lilly. It was nice. We hadn't met our family in such a long time, so it was a wonderful reunion. Yeah, I guess that's right. Their house being beachside was the best part, though. From her dismissive tone, I get the feeling Akira doesn't like their family as much as Lilly does. You only like that because you finally had time to play around. Just 'cause I'm the better swimmer. I don't take after the athletic side of the family after all. Well, you can take heart in the fact that you've got the high genes at least. And the bust genes, oh yeah, I know all about that. That's not really the right kind of thing to say around others. Though Lilly pretends to scold Akira, she does so with an unmistakably slightly cheeky grin on her face because she's proud of the bust. I doubt Akira really minds that, judging from her nonchalant expression. While I don't either, Hanako's looking down and blushing furiously beside me. The sisters' antics aside, their parents really do lead a bourgeois lifestyle. It seems utterly divorced from the life that Lilly and Akira have lived until now. I suppose practicality must have made the decision for them. To have come from such a wealthy and well-connected lineage only adds to the almost noble air Lilly seems to have, though. It's a small wonder none of it seems to have rubbed off on Akira. They really are like as little alike as siblings could be. Their only similarity seems to be their shared confidence, hair color too, which can be both endearing and a headache at times. Most of the night continues much the same, with Hanako eventually leaving the Sato sisters and me to ourselves as she heads back to her dorm room for a rest. What? Akira didn't bust out the wine yet? I seriously expected at least, I expected Akira to take it easy for the first hour, but like during the second hour of the homecoming party, she was just like, oh, look what I got, and then she grabs one bottle of wine out of her bag and is like, yep, alright, it's time. For a while, only the barely audible sound from Lily's teacup and saucer can occasionally be heard as she slowly drinks. The silence is strained as Lilly and I wait for the elephant in the room to be addressed. Are we going to be telling Akira? So, Lilly dutifully puts her cup down, giving her sister her undivided attention. With Lilly and me on one side of the low table, and Akira at the other, this almost feels like a judge passing down a verdict. I hear that you two are going out now. Akira knows? Oh, she knew all along. She was just... But what was that playful, teasing earlier? What? I glanced sideways at Lilly to confirm her as the source of Akira's knowledge. She gives a gentle nod to Akira, which I mirror in affirmation. Deciding that this is the proper time and place to do so, and Akira being the closest figure to a parent Lily's had for much of her life, I bow deeply with my hands on the floor before me and my head very nearly the same. I'll take good care of your sister, Akira. I promise you. See? He's a lovely young gentleman. She must have heard my voice coming from a lower position than usual. I slowly bring myself back up, my eyes tentatively looking to Akira from under my brow. To tell the truth, I very much doubt my suited judge will raise any objections. She's very definitely the type to make her disapproval with others well known, something that lends her a measure of respect in my eyes. The old-fashioned kind, huh? Well, he's the kind of person I guessed you'd go for. I don't have a problem with it, and I wish you two the best. Even if I didn't like it, I couldn't really do anything anyway. I offer a nod of appreciation to her, as Lilly gives a small sigh of relief, likely more out of duty than actual belief that Akira might have had any problems with us being together. Yeah, but still, it's like still that thing like you wonder, like, oh, does my family actually, approve of my boyfriend? Because if it turns into something more and more serious, then that is definitely something that could be of importance to a lot of people. So I can definitely understand, like, oh, okay. I mean, it's always better for family and the boyfriend or girlfriend to get along with each other, right? That just makes everything so much more easier and simpler. So yeah, I can understand that at least, take some weight off of her shoulder. I do wonder though, how's the rest of the family taking it? Particularly the part residing at Yamaku. Have you told her? Aw, she's hinting at Shizune. Smiles turns to grimaces as Akira grins downright evilly. Oh my god, look at that grin on her face. She's like, have you told her yet? And how mad was she? Those closest know how to twist the knife best, after all. Putting up with it may be the best term for the situation. Don't you agree, Hisao? Yeah, that sounds about right. At least she's being reasonable about it. Good to hear. That girl can be a handful at the best of times. We sent a few messages back and forth during and just after the trip, and she was already busting my chops for seeing my boyfriend when we came back. After leaving Hideaki for so long, she really does care for the little guy. I cast my mind back to Shizune's odd reaction after telling her about our relationship, but decide not to bring it up. It's no doubt simply born of their mutual antipathy, and Akira's comments only back that up. Well then, that's settled. Gotta get to work early tomorrow, so I'd better be off. She rises from the table with a grunt, her hand on her knee to push herself up. I just noticed Akira's eyes lingering on Lilly for a couple of seconds before turning away. As she begins to take her leave, that is suspicious. As she walks out of the door, she stops and looks up thoughtfully before turning to one of us last time. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to tell you. Use protection. Every time. Oh my god. I gag violently on the tea in my mouth. Contrary to my own, Lily's composure holds perfectly as she seems entirely unfazed. I'm kind of impressed. We are. Don't worry. Were we? I have no idea. Atta girl. See us. And with that, she turns and strides away, a held hand high as she disappears into the darkened hallway, closing the door behind her. The most reaction I can muster is flopping forwards onto the table, completely drained of energy and truly exhausted by her. Lily's ability to hold her own against that student devil is something I admire. She really is incredibly blunt. I don't think I'll ever be able to keep up with your sister's energy. As I feel Lily's soft hand come to rest on my own, I roll my head to the side to see her gently smiling. For a long time, we simply sit beside each other, silently. Given her unquestionably unusual height, she is pretty much exactly as tall as I am, probably a couple of centimeters higher if anything. Like this, she appears even taller. The feeling of her pale, soft hand against mine is a pleasant one, as is the sight of the thin silken pajamas she wears, showing her curves and collarbone. Ooh, I love me a collarbone. You do get on well though, even if you do say that. I guess. You two are a lot more alike than I first thought when I met you. Then it's a good thing I quickly stopped you from growing after her, isn't it? Oh, that was never my plan. Though she jokes about it, my assessment of my ability to keep up with Akira, either physically or mentally, was quite in earnest. Lilly's slow-paced and ladylike, almost motherly nature is perhaps the single thing that helped me most in my first weeks at Yamaku. Come to think of it, wait, since when were we using protection? She was lying about it! As I give a curious look to my side, Lily's cheeks puff out as she huffs at me. Please don't tell me you have a surprise or secret to tell me, Lily, that we have a bun in the oven. Oh no. Unlike you, I remembered the packet is in the cupboard next to the sink. So I'm not the only one of us that takes a pill. Ah, okay, in that case, okay, of course. In hindsight, I feel rather thoughtless for not remembering at all, and leaving it to Lily. Looking over to the cupboard she mentions, I notice again the knee-high piles of books around us that were here the other times I'd visited. For the most part, they're lined up against the wall to give a little more room around the table. Why don't you get a bookshelf for your books? It's odd to see books just piled around, especially given that your room looks so neat and orderly otherwise. They're easier to find this way. I know exactly which pile each book is in. Wouldn't you still know that after putting each set on a different shelf? That may be, but... So she's not immune to bouts of laziness after all. You have so many of them. It's kind of a shame we can't share our book sets despite both of us reading so much. She gives a short giggle. Come to think of it, why do you order your books through Yuko? I imagine there'd be plenty of sites that you could order books in Braille from, especially in English Braille. There are a lot of text-to-speech programs too. She turns her head slightly away from me, which strikes me as somewhat surprising. I'm just not all that good with computers. I'm alright with typewriters and braillers, I don't freaking know, but that's about it. Her tone almost makes me chuckle. She's a prideful person, so admitting something like that must be difficult. So, Lily is the low-tech kind of person. Given her old-fashioned personality, it's not really a stunning surprise. I wouldn't worry about it. A lot of people aren't really good with them, so it's not that unusual. That's unusual. Now she's even more depressed. It feels like I'm twisting the knife rather than healing her wounds. With a bit of squirming, I shuffle my way closer to her, tentatively putting one hand around her waist to hug her. I'm still not really used to this kind of physical affection, but Lily seems to like it. Oh, what the heck? Oh my god. Like the... Dude, Hisao just put his arm around. I just thought, okay, they're just, quietly, nicely gonna sit next to each other. And then bam, this picture in my face. I'm like, what? What the hell is happening? I mean, this is not as much as a surprise as the first time in the summer house when they took things further than this. But yeah, it was still a surprise nonetheless. Lily smiles as she turns to face me, a kiss being the reward for giving in to her. She draws me in, brushing my upper lip with hers, before pressing against both. This way, every one of my senses is filled with her. The barely perceptible scent of her hair, her taste as her tongue fleetingly touches mine, the tenderness of her lips, the image of her filling my mind, the total silence, apart from her faint breath. We may have kissed before, but even if this is more a kiss of simple affection than anything, it's still a new and pleasant sensation. Judging from her vivid blush as she pulls back, it's obvious she feels the same way as I do. Even if we're entirely alone, it still feels a little embarrassing to open up to each other this much. Yeah, it's kinda hard to open your mouth that far sometimes. If we take everything day by day, I think that would be for the best. Small steps, right? Yeah, just small steps, baby steps. We have plenty of time to be together, even after the school year is over. As long as we move together, I think everything will work out okay. Neither of us is going anywhere soon after all. For now, I'm just thankful for this small moment in time we can spend together. I stand unmoving in the front of the door of the nurse's office for what feels like at least a dozen minutes or so. What? Oh, are we going to be seeing the nurse again? I mean, I kind of... didn't I mention it a couple of videos ago that I actually kind of missed the character of the nurse because he was rather funny, and in the Emmy route at least. And I feel like we haven't seen him at all, definitely not in the Rin route, and it's kind of surprising that we see him now. But I mean, it makes kind of sense, right? Because I feel that Hisao has had more sort of, heart problems in this particular route than any other of the ones, I feel. I mean, okay, in the Emmy route, he was always coming there for like weekly checkups or even daily checkups after the morning workout every single time. So yeah, in the Rin route, then actually I feel like all of his heart trouble was just almost completely gone. And here is like, yeah, he's had a lot of heart issues. Besides the fact that I feel like he's walking a lot, that's part exercise, and I guess he's a bit more dumber in this route, where he just forgets to take his medicine. The best thing you just gotta do when you have to take medicine, right, is to just set a daily alarm, and just, whenever it goes off, I'll like, yeah, damn, I have to take the medicine. I mean, sure, it's not fun to be reminded of it every single time through to an alarm, but at least that way you don't forget it. Especially if you're like Hisao and your life depends on taking that pill, then yeah, you definitely should. It's not like I never entered the small beige room before, nor is it because of any feeling of childlike anxiety over the visit. Maybe it's because the nurse's office is akin to a confessional, an admission that my body is flawed. The knowledge that such a fact is kept entirely confidential between the nurse and me hardly lessens the feeling. Remembering that the bell to signal the end of the lunch break will soon sound, I give a sigh and open the door. The burden will stay with me just this while longer. Well now, if it isn't Nakai, good to see you. Or bad, I guess, considering that I'm a nurse. He gives a small laugh, amused at his little joke. I find his humor lacking and somewhat off, but the fact that he can make light of such a situation is perhaps comforting, or at least distracting. His brief episode of entertainment is over. He claps his hands together and gets down to business. I take a seat as he gestures for me to do so. I wish the classrooms had seats this comfortable. I can feel my mind wandering as my eyes quickly scan the room, distracted by all the small changes since I last came. Alrighty, so what brings you here? I haven't seen you often, so I assume your health has been good so far. Well, mostly. I see. His smile drops as I trail off. I feel slightly guilty about it. It's these moments where I can't rationally call myself normal that make me so reluctant to see the nurse. They're an admission that I'm different from everyone else. While I was on a trip during the long weekend, I had a few problems with my heart. He hums very seriously and nods as he does so, urging me to go on. I think it was as I was walking a fairly long distance. I think the right term for it is a heart flutter. I suddenly went weak at the knees and felt almost like I was having a small heart attack, but it passed in about half a minute. Even afterwards, though, I felt pretty fatigued and nauseous. Not good. Not good at all. That was how many days ago exactly? Did you do anything unusual aside from exerting yourself before the episode? Were you taking your medication properly? The nurse switches from awkward jokester to serious health professional mode, rattling off questions, making notes, and calling up stuff on his computer. I tell him about my forgetting to take my pills that morning and the preceding evening. It was a stupid thing to do, but I can't change anything about it now, except answer honestly and bite the bullet. That's true, like, even if it's an embarrassing thing, to sort of lie to your doctor, it makes things even worse, right? Because if you don't give him the proper information, no matter how embarrassing it is, he can't make a proper assessment of or diagnosis of your situation or your problem either, right? Like, yeah, I can definitely understand. I've been guilty of that myself too. When you're like at the doctor, you're like, well, it's embarrassing to say yes, so I'll probably just say no or maybe, and then yeah. But it is actually, in hindsight, quite a stupid thing to do because the doctor is there to help you, right? So why would you lie to him and give him sort of false information? His seriousness evolves into a frown, and the talk evolves into an instant checkup. I finish buttoning up my shirt, and again get motion to take a seat in front of the nurse. Is this the first heart problem you've had since coming to Yamaku? I've had short pains in my chest before, just a couple of times, but they were more discomfort than anything like this. He leans back in his chair, briefly resembling a white-coated pura, as he mulls over the mysterious case of the heart flutter, moving his lips from side to side to show that he's thinking. His non-existent mustache wiggling, he eventually comes to a conclusion. Well, you survived it. That's always on the plus side. You mean I had a chance to actually die? I blink at this one, then notice the nurse wearing his gotcha face. It's actually somewhat reassuring. I don't think he would crack jokes if things were really serious, so I keep silent and take my lumps. I'll have a talk with your doctor, but right now, I expect it simply due to physical exertion. Have you been keeping up with regular light exercise like I directed you to? I make sure to walk a reasonable amount every day. It's usually enough to work up a bit of a sweat, but then again, I'm really not as fit as I used to be. That should be enough then. The main thing to keep in mind is to do regular low-stress exercise, not short bursts of sprinting and such. I understand. Then why did we go running with Emmy in the first round, huh? He was like, oh yeah, no, you should be doing that, and I was like, don't go in short spurts of sprinting. I mean, yeah, okay. Like, that was, I guess the running we did with Emmy isn't really considered short burst, it's just like, it's just normal sprinting, not short bursts, so I guess it's fine that way, I don't know. I understand. Since leaving the hospital, I've been a lot more focused on my studies, partly to take my mind off of not being able to do more physical things. It's good to hear you're coping well. Sudden lifestyle changes can be hard at the best of times, so I'm pleased to hear that you sound like you have everything in order. Almost everything, that is. Nevertheless, I want to keep a close eye on you for a while, just for observation's sake. Just to make sure things aren't going downhill, you understand? That's something I really didn't want to hear. Since coming to Yamaku, all I've wanted to do is live as normal a life as possible. Observation was one of the words I came to hate most during my hospital stay. For so long, I felt as if I could have just walked straight out of the hospital doors, if not for that observation the doctor wanted so dearly. Sure, should I come in more often? He checks the calendar next to his computer, which seems to inflict on him a nasty case of furrowed brow. He spins back towards me after that. Summer holidays are a bit of a pain. Considering the timing, I'll check with your doctor to try and get a better handle on the situation and see how he wants to proceed. But I think you should just take things slowly and carefully for now. What you're describing doesn't immediately sound like a recurring event, but it won't hurt to slow down a bit for a while, just to make sure. What should I do for today? He looks over my shoulder at a clock hanging over the door. I'd never have noticed it if I hadn't followed his gaze. It's nearly time for school to be over, so we may as well just leave early. Oh, thanks, Doc. He gives me a sly wink, making sure that I understand he's doing me a favor. Well, nurse's orders. Thanks. That's what I'm here for after all. Oh, this is the best nurse ever. That's what he's here for? Giving sick kids excuses to leave school early? Hell yeah, I love this nurse. I know you might not want to hear this, but you can't ignore your condition. Don't hesitate to see me if you have any further problems, or if you just have anything you want to ask. Bye. He spins around and gets back to typing on the computer in front of him. I suppose I'll just read before waiting for Lilly by the gates, considering I don't have much else to do. And even as I leave, his words echo in my mind. My condition isn't something as limiting as many of the others here in Yamaku, and I don't want to burden Lilly with thinking about it. If I just live life normally and avoid any short, sharp shocks, I should be okay. I won't let my condition rule me. And as that school bell ends, that also means we're going to have to be ending the video here, unfortunately. But I mean, it was fun to see the doctor again for sure, or the nurse. But I have a feeling that the trouble that's going to be arising in this last act of the Lilly route is either going to be from Lily's family side, you know, that she's going to be revealing some kind of shocking secret. Not necessarily like shocking secret or something, but just like, I don't know, just something with her family. I feel it's either that or Hisao, because I feel like his heart problems has been like, it has been more, you know, it had just occurred more throughout this entire route. So I feel like that might end up being a problem as well later on, but I don't know how, because I feel like he's not doing that much different from any other route, right? Like in the Lilly or in the Emmy route, he actually took it upon himself together with Emmy. Well, Emmy actually took it upon herself to make sure Hisao gets into good shape. But they tried very well to, you know, to actually do daily exercise for his heart condition to improve, or at least to, you know, for his entire body to improve. And the Rin route, I feel like he actually didn't pay any attention to that at all, and that didn't seem to bother him at all because no heart problems there. But here, I feel like he's just doing, he's paying attention to it more than in the Rin route, but not as much as in the Emmy route. But he's, for some reason, having more heart trouble. So that is really, you know, one of the things that I feel like kind of questionable, like, But anyway, I feel like that might be the second possible thing where the problem could arise from, that for some reason his heart problems gets worse again or something. I don't know. It would be extremely dire and probably really, really sad for Hisao if he would have to go to the hospital again, but I don't think that's gonna happen because I feel like most of it is probably gonna stay here at Yamaku at least. So yeah, that's my, I guess, kind of predictions for what's perhaps to come in the rest of Act 4, but for now I'm going to be ending this video here, so thank you guys so very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.